Anne Schroeder is a senior associate at Fletcher Priest Architects, who has worked on a number of iconic City of London projects, including Angel Court and 6 Bevis Marks. And the firm's also now working on 55 Gracechurch Street. And I was just wondering how you think, Anne, our experience of COVID and the emerging patterns of work, how that'll impact on the design of tall buildings in the square mile.
I think resilience is really the key, and making sure the design is future-proofed. People spend a good part of their day at the workplace, and so we always felt like it needs to appeal to human nature. We've always, in most of our designs, we've incorporated large roof terraces for people to enjoy. Natural ventilation is always something that's that we felt is important. So even before COVID, really. And then the importance of space, not just 2D space, but sort of floor to ceiling heights, maximizing those and giving people space to breathe, quite literally. Things like staircases, making them enjoyable spaces to really encourage people to use them, and not see them as a back of house space, but yeah, to help people with their sort of well-being and fitness by using these more. In regards to 55 Gracechurch Street, we haven't really altered the design because of COVID. We always had floor-to-floor servicing, so the tenants are in charge of their fresh air coming in on a floor-by-floor situation. We have robotic distribution, so the deliveries will be distributed through the buildings by robots. We've got the open space in between the podium and the tower, and we've got escalators that serve the lower floors, again to help take the pressure off the lifts. That's always been at the core of the design, and it now always also helps with COVID, but it's always been at the heart of our designs. Likewise with the project in Hafen City, we've got daylit stairs. Every unit has got access to a balcony or a terrace. And on 100 Fetter Lane, to give you another example, we've got natural ventilation and roof terraces on multiple levels, so that all the tenants have got access to at least one of the terraces, as well as daylit stairs again. So yeah, with that kind of resilient design, you're set up for most scenarios, and you're creating enjoyable spaces for people to work.
But we are seeing at the moment, obviously, changing even times of working. People working from home, maybe working in the city 3 days a week rather than 5 days a week. I mean, how do you envisage central London, say, in 5 years' time? Can you sort of paint a picture of how you think it's going to be?
Well, personally, I'm hoping that some of it we'll be able to hang on to. Again, coming back to the Hafen City project, that we had one meeting, the initial kickoff meeting in Hamburg, and then the rest was all done, because of COVID, it was all done virtually. So for us, I think that that was lucky. It would have involved a great deal of traveling, going there, meeting with people. But with COVID now, everyone was equal and everyone had to work remotely, and we had virtual meetings throughout the whole planning process. And that worked really well. And I hope that we'll be able to hang on to that. So that's just personally, at least to some degree. I think physical meetings will always be required, and some instances they're just better. But I think there are good things in both worlds that I hope we can hang on to a degree. I do think, though, that people will always need to come together to create something together.
And so, as you say, you were able to do a lot of work on Zoom and virtually during lockdown. How did you fare generally in terms of projects and work as a result of COVID?
As an office, we've had better than expected. We were all working from home within days, less than a week. We had an IT accident a few years ago, and that caused us to overhaul the whole IT system. So when COVID hit, we were well set up, and technically it worked really well. It did have its own challenges because people are a bit more detached, of course, from the office, and it's harder to benefit from the big resource that 120 people bring within the workplace.
You've talked about Hafen City and Google. What other sorts of projects are now beginning to come through the practice?
So we've got Oxford North in Oxfordshire, a big master plan of this 27-hectare site. We're creating a new urban district there with research and employment buildings, new public buildings, as well as 500 homes. For Hafen City, we're expecting the planning permission to come through, which is exciting. Then on Lucent at Piccadilly Circus, the block behind the lights, that is currently on site. So we're creating 214 square feet of workplace, retail and hospitality, as well as residential units there. So that was a very exciting project for us, obviously. And then we've got K1 at Knightsbridge Estate, which again is a mixed-use scheme where 9 distinct buildings are recreated behind retained and reconstructed facades. We've got contemporary retail at the base, as well as new workplace spaces and a rooftop restaurant overlooking Knightsbridge roofscape. We also got the Future Work project, which is something that an animation, and that it explores the evolving workplace. You may have seen it on our website, and also how and where we might work in the future. So we're expanding on that and our design research for post-COVID work.
Thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you very much indeed.